Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to be covering an update to a video I covered a few days ago, which is titled, After 45 years of marriage, my wife used WhatsApp to have an affair. Now I'm contemplating my revenge. And guys, as a recap, this is the video I covered a few days ago about the guy, 64 years old, been married to his wife, same wife, 45 years, since he was 19. The guy spent his career as a roughneck, working on an oil rig. 35 years, high-risk job, anything could happen, and eventually got injured so badly that 10 years ago, he had to stop working there, couldn't bring in the same income, and so she had to start working. And by the way, they had multiple kids, 4 kids, he's got 12 grandkids. Anyhow, recently, as you all remember, he discovered she's cheating on him. At the very least, having a quote-unquote emotional affair talking to some guy. He found this on her laptop. And they were planning to get together for the so-called first time this week on one of her, monthly work trips, you know. And this guy wrote in, obviously telling the story about the whole situation, and asked my advice on how best to handle situations, scenarios, asked you guys. And so I gave him what I thought made the most sense, telling him, look, it's over, and I think he knew it was over, and what I thought how best to handle things. Well, our update here is actually 2 updates. The one update is an update he sent in like the day I published that video, so he didn't get to hear from me. And the next update is after she came back, and he already took action and how he handles things. And let me tell you guys, this guy is, he's showing no mercy. And we're just getting started on all that. So I'm going to read to you the brief thing he sent to me before I actually published the video, more information, and then getting into what he does when he confronts her. And again, this is a tough guy. You all recall that, and oh, she's in for trouble. So he says here, hello SSM. I sent the initial story last week. I tried everything to convince my wife not to go to her bi-monthly workshop, but I failed. Yeah, he has sent the story in, obviously a while before I did the video because I've been backed up. To clear up some things that I realized I may need to straighten out, when I said the oil company told me out, it meant I wasn't able to pass a physical to work on the rigs anymore, and I was too old to retrain. But I'm able to have a healthy SCX life with my wife, including the morning she left. Kind of a grudge, F-U-C-K. But also to leave a gift for Trevor, sloppy seconds for you. So even though you knew, you nailed her first before she went off, and I guess this is your last hookup, huh? After she left, I sat trying to figure out which step to take first. I went back to her notebook, the computer, and decided to see exactly what I was dealing with. I also wanted to save all the pictures and videos for future use. Good, that's what I told you to do. Keep a record of all the evidence. You're going to need it. By the way, I'm kind of surprised she left it at home, unless this is like her personal notebook computer, and then she has a work laptop she takes with her. I was taken aback by the depth of her betrayal. Every single doubt, fear, and personal things that have been exposed to her over 47 years, if you think I'm going to tell you on here you're stupid, never open up like that again. They had a good giggle about that. So what you're saying is that as a husband, you were opening up to her about things as a wife over the years, and she was now making fun of you with it with her lover on WhatsApp. There's my point, guys, about keeping shit to yourselves. That's disgraceful. Well, then I found it, our story. Our story was a book of short stories and essays that we wrote to each other. It started out with a story I was backpacking into a Montana cabin. It ended with a bubble bath and a claw-footed tub. She wrote the next chapter, our stories got hot and steamy, and it ended in a real-life wild fun. And okay, so obviously you did this back years ago. This went off and on every second or third weeks for years. It gave us an opportunity for each of us to inject or suggest to the other things we were interested in. Well, there were all of our stories, and yet my name had been swapped out for Trevor's. I was effing crushed. I had written more than half cause towards the end of our writings. I was contributing more and more. So you had all this whole history of things you used to write to each other when you were young, and she was crossing out your name, putting Trevor's name in there? What the hell? He says, I did everything but tell her I knew about Trevor and her plans to throw away 45 years of marriage. But she left, and I'm plotting to effing ruin her existence. Okay, well, she's gone. I clipped and cropped all the pictures and videos and messages. Well, she called me to tell me she's stopping by her sister's Sunday night. It was a suggestion I made that I had made, and she promised to make it up to me when she got home. I wanted to cry, scream, and choke someone, I'm not going to mention who, all at this time. I guess her and Trevor weren't done destroying our lives. So I'm sitting here plotting my revenge. Her notebook computer starts to ping. I start reading the messages, and I realize she was really at her sister's house after the initial "I miss you so much." And that was worth the wait. It was soul-crushing on its own, but nothing compared to the videos that followed. Videos of her sucking, yeah, and his face peering over her geriatric gut, and between those big saggy meat bags, all taken from POV. They were recording themselves. Remember, guys, she's I'm guessing pretty close to his age, 64, and he does mention she's good looking for her age, but she's 64, and this guy's a lot younger. Every shadow of love I had for this woman turned to rage. I don't care what it takes, I'm going to ruin them both. I recognized the bean flicking videos were taken at her office, not our home, so I could get her fired. But that will have to wait for the divorce. I'm effing mad, I'm not stupid. I have to assume Trevor did the same, but I wanted more. Yeah, remember he saw videos of both of them pleasuring themselves, and she stored it on her computer? That was the end of part 2, guys, the update that he sent me the other day. He wrote that before I published the video. Now's his update as to her coming home after he did see the video. He says, "Hey, SSM, as of this week, could get any worse. So I'm ready to confront her as soon as she comes home. I have email and text responses to my family and friends when the inevitable bombardment of messages telling me I'm overreacting and shit starts pouring in. Yeah, I've been paying attention to your stories. Good. I'm glad you're prepared. You've done the right thing. You've gathered your evidence that you need, enough evidence you need, and now you're prepared for the conversations. And yes, guarantee you're going to get family and friends who are going to be telling you the overreacting or making excuses, or because they're not going to want you to break up and get divorced because that messes up their lives. You know? He says, number 1, there will be a screenshot of the conversation from where they are being particularly hurtful to me, but incriminating to them. 2 is a nice screenshot of their conversation regarding how much fun they're having. And number 3 is a screenshot of my wife describing the feeling in a particular position. Well, there you go. That should do it. After 3, the pictures and videos start, each one more graphic and intimate than the last, to put a stop to this crap. This established the narrative and that her life will never be the same. I had cyber-stalked him on Facebook once I had his full name, and I have all that I needed. He's 39 years old, my wife is 64. My wife is a very beautiful woman for her age, but she's 64 for heaven's sake. She gets an effing Charlie horse getting out of bed. How the hell is she satisfying a kid the same age as our youngest? He's married with 3 kids. Trina is his wife's name. Beautiful lady. So our guy here's looked him up, found the wife. Oh, this is going to be good. I sent Trevor a Facebook message with an attached picture of him nursing on one of my wife's big you-know-whats. And in the text I said, does Trina know? I was cocked, loaded, and ready to rock. I expected her home from her sister's house in about an hour. Then my phone rings. It's my brother. I haven't told anybody in my family yet. I spent 72 hours plotting and planning, evaluating. Now my baby brother, who's in his mid-50s, needed help pulling a calf. I have to pull it out of the cow. I never turned my back on family, so I headed out to his ranch. Now my lovely bride would be coming home when I was gone. So, damn, man, so you're just waiting for her to come home and unleash hell, and your brother calls you and he's got an injury and needs you to help him. Well, it shows you that you're a good guy to go help him. I can see you jumping in your truck, driving fast to go help him, get back home before she gets there. This kind of threw a wrench in my plans. I had already moved all my stuff to the guest room. I took everything of mine out of her room. I didn't want even my scent left in there. If she saw that, then my plans would be coming apart. Well, my wife texted me when she got out of the canyon. The last hour or so of driving is down a canyon with no cell service. So it's common practice to send your wife or husband a text when you're going in and out so they know when to expect you. I texted back where I was and what I was doing. She said that since I wasn't home yet, she stopped by her parents. I knew she'd be home in 35 minutes, maybe 45, if she has to stop and pee first at the gas station out of the canyon. Then another half hour, her parents, I can still make it work. Well, you're used to this routine because she does this every month. We were done at my brother's. Between holding Mama down and getting a 8'7" bouncing bull calf out safe and sound, we were covered in mud, blood, cow shit, and everything else. I told him what was going on, and we had a moment. Ah, you told your brother. It's good you got it out. He laughingly told me the exact same thing I told him when he went through his divorce, saying, well, if you need help getting rid of a body, let me know. It was the dark humor we used to reaffirm and support each other. And it was just what I needed. As I turned to leave, he shot back, do it before I get cleaned up. No sense getting 2 sets of clothes dirty and having to shower twice. Well, I'm glad you can have a sense of humor about it. You're going to need it. I headed home to get a shower and change clothes. After showering, I hurried and got dressed and was waiting for my wife on the porch. Well, she pulled up, smiling and waving like she didn't have a care in the world. The whole time I'm reminding myself that I wouldn't look good in a bright orange jumpsuit. Yes, that's what I said in the other video, man. It is not worth doing something that puts you in prison the rest of your life, or worse. And, no. Keep calm, keep cool. She got out of the car and didn't even bother to grab her bags, just came through our gate, arms outstretched in blissful ignorance that I was about to jerk all happiness out of her life. She held out her arms for a hug and came in for the kiss. I recoiled and pushed her aside. A look of complete and total shock took over her face. I turned face to her, and the words came out of my mouth, cold and cruel. I said to her, if you think I will ever kiss a effing mouth after you spent 3 days sucking on Trevor's, you really do think I'm stupid. Damn, dude. Why don't you put the camera on so you at least send it to me for me to watch? The look on her face, shock, surprise, you name it, she opened her mouth and nothing came out. If it was anybody else, I'd be making a joke about what you just said, but I'm going to let that go since you're going through a pretty tough time. But y'all are thinking it when you say something like that. Well, I've been in a few fights in my life, SSM, and at 64, and there is that moment when you hit your opponent perfectly placed in extreme power, and you recognize total defeat in their eyes. Just before they fall. That's the look I got. I actually saw her knees buckle, and she almost went down. Yeah, dude, because she never saw it coming. She never ever would think. The thing is, I bet you in the beginning she was probably super careful hiding things. And since she never discovered anything, she no longer covered her tracks. That's why it's so easy for you to find out what she was doing on her computer. Well, she caught herself, and all she could muster was a weak, "What?" I gotta say that this had been a bar fight. This was what I would want. Hands fall down to the side, eyes glaze over a 1,000-yard stare, knees weak, jaws slacked open and unsteady. Had it been Trevor, I would have come down on top of him with a hard fight and finished him. Finish him! It's like Mortal Kombat. But it was my wife for 45 years, my soulmate for 47, no right overhand punch. I hope you and Trevor had a good time, I said. I hope it was worth flushing our lives down the toilet, and the look of shock and horror in her face was priceless. She collapsed to the deck crying. I was way past giving a FUCK about her hurt feelings. So right here, guys, I want to point out that guys react in different ways when they find out something like this happens. And this guy's one of these people that just instantly felt rage, and it's like all love they once had, just like a puff of smoke, whoosh, gone. And here we are. Now, obviously, the opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference, and he's not indifferent now because he's plenty pissed off. But still, that love is really going bye-bye quick. Well, she lay there on the deck as I berated her and inserted quotes and particular things that they discussed between those two. She didn't say a word, just cried at my feet. Go back Handbook Chapter 2. I then started on Trevor, and how could she wreck a young family just like our own kids and grandkids? None of this seemed to faze her. It wasn't until I said one phrase that shocked her, like that had hit her with an AED. I snarled at her in my most disgusted voice and said, I hope you'd be happy with your keyboard Romeo. Her head snapped up, eyes wide, wild, and she screamed, What? What are you going to do to him? And the color left her face except red eyes in her ears. I'm not sure why it struck me so strange, red eyes and ears on a pale white rabbit. Oh, so nothing until she thinks you're going to do something to him, and now she's talking, huh? He says, what the fuck? Yeah, that reaction hit me as strange. And that 30 seconds ago, I was screaming like a madman, and she didn't even respond. Now I say one phrase, and she's in a panic. Then it hit me, keyboard Romeo, keyboard. He says, well, story time, guys. The statute of limitations had run out, so I can tell you why that phrase stopped my wife's heart. 18 some odd years ago, some asshat from a city about 3 hours drive from me decided to start making effed up comments on my Facebook posts. So my Facebook is where I post and share pictures and videos of family events, plays, grandpa stuff. He wasn't very smart. He had his place of employment, nice pictures of his car, etc. After one particular vile comment, I headed that way. My wife went along, spending 3 hours trying to talk me down and being present to bail me out. So some guy's talking shit on your Facebook post about the women in your family and grandkids and all that, because that's what happens, and you're going to have to meet him. This is how roughnecks, this is an old school guy, this is a roughneck. You threaten his family, he's coming after you. But you got to be careful because you don't want to end up in an orange jumpsuit. I was waiting for this young guy, 25, 35 years old, in his car. I told him who I was and asked if he still wanted to do awful things to my granddaughters. So this is 18 years ago, and you had your kids at 19. So obviously, they had young kids, so obviously your granddaughters were, teenagers at this point. I didn't wait for the answer. I fell upon him like a plague. My wife got me in a headlock and tried to pull me off him. She dragged me to the truck. I kept an eye on him to make sure he didn't bum rush me. So we're in the truck, and the adrenaline is off the charts, and I rolled down my windows to give my new friend some advice about letting his fingers write checks his butt can't cash. He was up on his hands and knees watching himself bleed out through the nose. He looked pathetic. If I had stopped there, I wouldn't have worried about anything. But then I had an idea, never good when you're mad. I jumped back out of my truck and grabbed a 2x4 and a no socket. I just began to whack his hands and fingers with the board. Every time I brought the bar down in his hands, I called him the keyboard warrior. My wife really freaked out. She dragged me off him, and I could see his fingers were broke and bleeding and sticking at odd angles. Damn, dude. I mean, nobody here is going to blame you when somebody's saying they want to do awful things to your daughters or granddaughters. That's how justice is handled, in my opinion. But that type of stuff also tends to get you arrested and bad things happen. But nobody blames you. But now we know why your wife is freaking out when you said something like that. That's when I panicked. I got the hell out of there. I was covered in blood. My wife said I looked like Mel Gibson's character in The Patriot after the tomahawk scene. That was a pretty badass scene. Shit, that movie came out in 2000, 26 years ago. That was a badass movie. That was a great summer. Summer 2000, you had Patriot, Gladiator, X-Men, if you like that. X-Men, I did. Anyhow, I spent the next 6 months just waiting for the police to show up. Even a year or two later, I was that nervous wreck. Well, flash forward to nearly 2 decades later, and here I was, my wife, at my feet with desperately pleading eyes, wondering what I was going to do to her young lover. She repeated the question with more despair and concern. What are you going to do to him? My response was cold and flat as I could, saying what I planned for him should be the least of your worries now. Well, that I turned and walked into the house and set the deadbolt. He says, I'm going to go eat a half a dozen gummies and watch Jason Bourne. The phone is off. I'll deal with the shit tomorrow. So that is the abrupt end to what happened after his wife came home. So it's getting real. It's going to be very interesting. So, sir, I'm sorry this happened. I really am. But I'm glad you're not taking it like a bitch. And you're showing her who's boss. And nobody can blame you. But now here comes the shitstorm of crying and tears. Crying and tears is the same goddamn thing. What am I thinking? Bombardment of emails and phone calls and visits from your family, your kids, your grandkids. But please don't do anything that's going to get you arrested. It's not worth it. But remember, if you're done with her, you're done with her. And don't let anybody try to sway you. And again, for her lover, again, don't do anything that gets you put in jail. But his wife deserves to know. Because he's cheating on her. And your wife, she's freaking ruining another family. But then again, he's allowing that to happen. So, sir, again, I'm sorry it's happening, but you're handling it well. Just don't do anything stupid. but make sure you talk to a lawyer now, and I wish you the best. So we'll be here waiting for updates here. So definitely let me know what's going on. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. Let our guy know what you think. Give him your support as you did last time, and we can get him through this. And hopefully we'll hear from him soon. Again, not from jail. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.